Welcome to the Green Hat Local SEO Podcast, where Kyle Sabra delivers hard-hitting, actionable tips and strategies to help business owners dominate their local market and crush the competition. Kyle's no-holds-barred approach cuts through the noise of traditional SEO, focusing on battle-tested tactics that deliver real results. He's here to arm you with the tools you need to skyrocket your rankings, generate more leads, and grow your business online. If you're tired of hearing the same old SEO nonsense and want to learn the truth, this is the podcast for you. Get ready to put on your green hats and learn SEO secrets the other guys can't handle. Now, here's your host, Kyle Sabra.
Hi, this is Kyle from Green Hat Local SEO, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about something that a lot of people put a lot of outsized importance on and almost nobody gets right, and that is schema. So schema is one of those things that seems almost sort of magical because people really don't understand it. So I'm sure you've heard of schema before, of Jason LD schema, and essentially you might know a little bit about it. Essentially what it is it's a certain type of JavaScript that goes into the headers of websites, and Google uses it to better understand what that web page is about. And this is one thing where a lot of fucking shitty SEOs and a lot of scammers out there use to essentially scam business owners like yourself. And a lot of white hats try to do this, but really don't understand it because they're too busy fucking around with on-page bullshit and stuff like this, and listening to gurus who say that schema doesn't matter. Well, I'm here to tell you that schema does matter. It can make a huge difference in your website, but you're probably doing it wrong. So, schema. What schema is like I said, it's a bit of JavaScript that you put into the head of every web page. And essentially what this does is this gives more context and more clarity to Google as far as what is on that page, right? So the way I tell people is, imagine you have an English speaker and a Spanish speaker. If you want to be able to communicate, then you got to get that interpreter. But there's always going to be something lost in interpretation, right? Some sort of nuances, maybe some jokes or puns, or, maybe the interpreter just flat out gets something wrong, right? Well, with schema, it's the same thing. Google is not a native speaker of whatever language you're writing your pages in. So it needs something to interpret that. And what it uses is it uses its own machine learning and everything. But if you have two English speakers, native English speakers, or two native Spanish speakers, then they're going to understand everything that each other's saying. Might be different dialects or whatever, but they're going to understand it because they speak the same language. And that is essentially what schema is. This is something that is directly injecting information into Google because it's speaking Google's language. And that's what makes it so incredibly powerful. But because it's more technical, and a lot of people really don't fucking understand this technical stuff, especially a lot of these cheaper SEOs out there, a lot of overseas SEOs, and even a lot of white hats, they usually do it wrong. And again, like I said, this is one way where people try to scam business owners, or they'll try to make it seem like they're doing a lot more than they actually are doing because schema looks so complicated and it's almost like magic. So how can you actually get schema to work and use it properly for your website? Well, the first thing you have to understand is whatever schema you're using out of the box, if you're using a WordPress site and you're using Yoast, or if you're using some other stupid bullshit like Webflow or Doodah, then your schema isn't actually doing anything for your site. Google's probably ignoring it. It's not really giving Google a whole lot of information. So whatever your SEO says is working with Yoast schema, or even something like SEO Press schema or Rank Math schema, probably isn't doing much, and they're just blowing smoke up your ass because they don't actually know what the fuck they're doing. Schema really does need to be handwritten for Google to really, or to really take advantage of everything that it can do, and for Google to really get enough information for it to make a difference, either in your total rankings or your impressions or your map rankings. So like I said, what Schema does is it directly talks to Google, speaking the same language as Google, and helps Google understand what the page is about. So everything that is on the page needs to be in your schema. On top of that, what I tell people is you're not only reflecting what's on the page, but you're also going to be expanding on it. So you can add information that is related to your page, but not directly on the page. And Google is going to read that and understand that and know how to connect the dots, right? So you probably heard me talk before about the knowledge graph and how important the knowledge graph is. One thing that you can do with Schema, and really the major thing that you're doing with Schema, is you are reflecting the knowledge graph, not just for the topic that you're writing about, whether it be, water heater repair or sewer line repair or, subluxation or something, but you're also connecting that topic to your business. Because you're speaking the same language as Google, you're directly telling Google, hey, I'm a chiropractor. I offer these, I'm educated in these modalities and techniques. I offer these services, and, here's what these are. Or you can say, hey, I own an HVAC company. Here's what we do, and, here's how it helps the customer. So when you're doing this, you need to make sure that you are writing this schema by hand, because I guarantee you, whatever stupid fucking plugin you're using is not going to be doing it properly. To give you a little frame of reference, when I write schema for a home service business, whether it's a roofer, plumber, HVAC, whatever, it can be 800 lines of code, just because I know that is really how you inject enough information into Schema to give Google what it wants. So these schema codes, like I said, aren't just reflecting what's on the page, but they're expanding on it. So what you can do too is, if you don't want to clutter up your page with information, like extra information, then put that into your schema. For example, if you are if you're in the medical industry or legal industry, right? You're a YMYL site, your money or your life. And Google is going to place a higher bar of, trust in there. So rather than on every single page writing about who you are, where you went to school at, what your qualifications are, you can put those into person schema, and Google is going to read that. And then when it does that enough, and it starts to get trained, because it's reading a schema everywhere, it's going to have an easier and easier time trusting what's on the site. And it's going to carry over to if you write anything like on a guest post or any other publication, because then Google knows, oh, this is Dr. So-and-so. He actually owns this other clinic over here, and I know all about him because I have all the information in the schema, right? And you can also do things like, you don't want to write 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 words if you're a plumber, right? So, but sometimes, you need to tell Google exactly what keywords or exactly what services that you offer and are trying to rank for. Then what you can do is you can put that into the schema. Instead of writing 2,000 words on, how to, repair a sewer line, put it on a page, you can put that in the schema. In the schema, you can tell Google exactly what services you offer, how much those services cost, where you offer those services, which is huge for maps rankings. You can actually put in your schema, hey, I am located at these latitude and longitude coordinates, and I offer my services in a 10-mile radius, right? And then you can even go as deep as telling Google not just where you offer those services, but you can say, okay, I also offer them in these very specific cities, and here are the neighborhoods within these very specific cities that I offer these services in. Here's the time that I offer these services. Here's how much these services cost. All these things that you wouldn't necessarily want to clutter up your landing page or service page with can go into Schema, and it has the added benefit in that Google understands that completely as long as you do it right, and has an easier time understanding who you are, what service you provide, where you provide the services, how much they cost, what times you're open, who you are, what your education, background, qualifications are, everything like that. And another thing that a lot of people don't realize is you can put this schema on pretty much anything. Find yourself a press release provider who allows you to put schema on the press releases. You can put press releases on your backlinks. You can put them into your Google stacks. You can put them, almost anywhere where you have control over adding in iframes or embedding content, you can put schema in there. Now imagine if Google saw this schema that had all the information about you on 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 different sites, right? Now, how powerful would that be if Google sees the same information over and over and over again in a way that it can directly understand it? You are training Google right there. You're training the machine learning algorithm to trust you above everybody else. And that's really how you should be using schema. Schema shouldn't be just another checkbox to mark off as you're doing your SEO. It really should be a way to reinforce what is on the page, the content that's already on the page, and to expand it into related content and related information that Google can then understand and connect the dots to, and then apply that to the knowledge graph that it has for whatever service you're trying to offer, whatever city you're trying to offer those services in, and whoever you are, so Google recognizes you as the expert. And if you do this right, this can be incredibly powerful. I have seen, and if you talk to me offline, I'll show you web pages that are ranking with 0 content on them, but they have all the content in the schema instead, and they're ranking number 1 for their keyword. These are local pages. Obviously, you're not going to rank for something like, what is Bitcoin with just schema, but if you're trying to rank for like plumber near me, plumber in whatever city, roofer near me, roofer in whatever city, you can absolutely do that. You can crush it by expanding your schema on the page. So yeah, just to wrap up, schema could be incredibly powerful if you do it correctly, but it needs to be handwritten. All this bullshit that the plugins like Yoast or whatever are doing don't work. Your SEO probably doesn't know how to do it and is just fucking yanking your chain so they can charge you more because they don't actually know how to do schema. If you want to do it right, your schema is going to be 6, 7, 8, 900 lines long, and that's really what is going to make the difference for you and for your SEO. So that's about it for this episode of the podcast. Again, my name is Kyle Sabra. If you want to learn more about schema, or if you want us to just do this for you and get you fucking ranked, then contact us at gHLS.io, and I will talk to you later.